Mike Trophy will now be presented to goaltender Bill Ranford.
That sounds like a recording, Bob. Ranford with another big save.
What do I have to do to score on this guy? Shot away, pick up rebound. Ranford, a sensational save.
What a save by Ranford.
Stop, rebound, stop, and Ranford comes diving out of the ground. And my goodness, he was over so quickly to stop that. What a series this young man is having. Billy Ranford
fires one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen. Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin' the Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Slinging the Bizkit. Today is this is an episode I've really been looking forward to for a bit. We have a 4-time Stanley Cup champion, 2 as a goalie, 2 as a player, 2015 Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame inductee, the pride of Brandon, Manitoba. He's been a goalie coach for the Los Angeles Kings for almost 2 decades. And I think, Dave, this is the first episode we ever done with a coach that has cut me.
I don't know if you're familiar with this, Bill, but once upon a time, our good friend here, Travis Ridgen, did a social media excursion down to L.A. where the Kings asked for a bunch of whoever to come for an open tryout, and Trav here decided to make an impression and went down and did pretty well and got a lot of camera time, and then eventually got cut and got his walking papers by you.
Yeah, I think I cut a lot of guys off. But you know what? I forgot all about that. That was quite a few years ago, and I remember because you had a camera crew with you, just a little bit of following you around and stuff on the ice, and it was one of those things that we were looking for emergency goalies, and our management group had this great idea. Why don't we open it up to everybody? And forgot that we were, as coaches, were working our butts off trying to win hockey games, and but it ended up being a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Also, too, so Bill cuts me. I remember this. We had about 30 guys. Bill says, sorry, pack your bags, 364 days, come back next year for tryouts. Jamie Storr comes over, says, where are you going? I said, oh, Bill cut me. He said, no, get back in there. Bill doesn't know what he's talking about. Came back in, and then you cut me again. So you cut me twice in the same day. And we had 10
I don't know who I was cutting and who I moved. I don't think I was moving anybody on.
Ridgen. Oh, yeah, better luck next year.
Well, listen, as I tell this guy all the time, and I know you've heard this phrase numerous times, but it's show business. It's not show friends.
Exactly.
Well, and speaking of which, I'm curious to know, just to kind of break the ice here, going from player to where you are now, you see not only the game, but the whole industry from a different point of view. Do you remember a certain point in time where that literally clicked going, oh, I get it now?
I think it's tough. I'm at the point now where, I've gone from player to coach and now a little bit into management, and just the whole, you got to understand all avenues. And I think the biggest thing that I realized, especially once I became a coach, is you end up talking about players like they're not really human, and you got to catch yourself sometimes because you're just trying to win hockey games, but you sometimes forget that they are real people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned early on, that they have families, they have wives, they have girlfriends, they have kids. You have to realize that, they're just not a jersey number, and you have to think about what, I went through as an individual, as a player, and so sometimes you just have to step back and not always look at the negative and look at what they do well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Billy Beane said it best. Would you prefer 1 to the head or 5 to the stomach and bleed out, right? Yeah. So, I mean, in your experience, has things gotten easier as far as dealing with players on that level?
I think my role, the 17 years that I was the goalie coach, I was pretty fortunate. I think due to the fact that I played, I was very well respected by our group, and they trusted me. I was kind of that go-between that they could talk to me about things, and they knew I wasn't going to go run into the head coach and say, oh, Andrzej Kopitar said this. I would go into the room and say, hey, guys, the guys are a little bit tired. We might want to think about giving them a day off or not having a morning skate. Or, I just tried to give the feedback to our staff without saying, this guy said that.
Right. Well, I think there's a transition period where you finish playing, and then if I had to take a guess, there's probably about a 10-year gap where you're still relatable to the players and still relatable to the upper management. But then there's kind of a point where you're no longer relatable to the players, and that transition probably becomes a little more difficult where it's like, okay, I'm officially brass now. Has that happened?
No, I think I still have that trust and respect from the guys. even when I go back there and for training camp and stuff, now that I've moved into the management role, I still talk to the guys and hang out with them, and I haven't got to that point. I hope I never get to that point.
Well, listen, if anyone asks for your credentials, do you actually have those Stanley Cup rings to show? Because I heard a rumor that you may not have them anymore. Is that true?
No, I've got them all.
You got them back? Because
I never lost rings. I lost some of the watches. I lost a bunch of watches when the house got broken into, but luckily I had just put the rings back in the safe, so I lucked out.
Explain the watches. Where do those come from?
Canada Cup, World Championships, just all kind of little memorabilia ones that I had, and those were the things that got stolen. We were having a block party. My kids luckily were in another part of the house, and somebody came in and helped themselves to a drawer full of watches and other little memorabilia, and walked out, and never got them back.
That seems to be a growing problem with professional athletes, especially in the NFL these days. Do you guys not have good security systems?
Yeah, well, it was a block watch party, so we were just all hanging out, and the kids were in the house. Never thought anybody would actually come in the house and help themselves.
Wow.
When was that?
Oh gosh, it's got to be 20 plus years ago. But yeah, it was. I think the biggest thing that was uncomfortable for everybody, my wife and my kids, was you just felt like your privacy was invaded. I think that was the biggest thing about it.
Yeah.
It's watches and stuff. You know what? It's not the end of the world, but somebody coming into your home and rifling through your drawers and stuff, that was creepy.
I think anyone that's had their window smashed in their vehicle can feel the exact same way about that, right? Yeah, you just feel violated personally.
Yeah.
Where were you living at the time?
In Westminster. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd retired in 2000, and we spent the following year building the house and kind of building our dream house. And I don't know, it was 4 or 5 years later, we were having a fun little block watch. We were all on our neighbor's lawn hanging out and stuff. And then I came in just to check on the kids, and I'm one of those guys that's pretty anal about doors being locked and stuff like that. I noticed that the front door wasn't locked. I'm like, what's going on? And I don't even know what made me walk upstairs. And I went upstairs, and sure enough, one of the drawers was open where my watches were. I was, disappointed about that stuff, but it was just a breath of fresh air that the fact that like 1 or 2 days before, I'd just put the rings away from having them out for, showing friends and for some sort of an occasion.
How often do you wear them?
Very rarely. It's hard because I'm in the Vancouver marketplace.
Fair.
So I really don't wear them much. Like for me to, I was involved with I was on the Canuck Alumni Board for 10 years before I joined the Kings, and then about 3 or 4 years in, I was still doing it. And it's just kind of an awkward thing if I show up at a Canucks function and I'm wearing an Edmonton Oiler or an LA King ring. So I really don't wear them that often. I'll bring them to functions where it's separate from that, or if somebody asks me to bring them out, I'll bring them out.
Now, I know Travis has a lot of goaltending questions, and obviously that's why you're here. Just before we get into that, as an Alberta boy born and raised, watching you go through what happened through the late 80s and early 90s, and just I want to say boycott for lack of a better term, with what happened with Pocklington and Gretzky, and nothing's going to ever be great again. We've lost it. It's ruined. And then doing what you guys did with that team of Messier and all the guys that were kind of left over, doing that in Edmonton and the memories that you have there, and then taking that and trying to compare it to what you did in LA, how do they differ?
Well, obviously, the two in Edmonton, 88 was, they're still a wagon and a dominant team. And then 90, after guys were being sold off, that was a lot of the guys that have 5 rings in Edmonton, they talk about that was the first one and the last one were kind of the special ones, because nobody expected the last one. The team just fell in place, late in March, and just some special things happened during that run. And then kind of with LA, it was, 8th seed and nobody expected us to do anything. And we were like this team that we were a dump truck rolling downhill that nobody could stop us in the first one. And then the second one was the miracle one. I don't know if you'll ever see it again. 3 straight Game 7s, and I think all 3 were on the road, and then to win it. I don't know if you'll ever see that.
Martinez, I can still hear that call from Doc Emmerich.
Yeah. The old jazz hands.
Yeah, it was something, man. And honestly, we've talked about it on this podcast before, and conspiracy theories aside, the whole idea of moving Wayne down to the southern U.S. on the West Coast was the idea to build hockey down in the U.S.
It did. It's the best thing that happened for hockey. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. I was a young individual at the time, probably not overly happy about it. Mm-hmm. I was up in Cold Lake, Alberta.
Great spot, by the way. Yeah. Great place to retire.
Yeah, I was there. Because as a kid, I was on the base there, and then I went up there to work with the Ogrodniks at the hockey school. And the announcement was, we thought it was a joke. We thought it was somebody messing around on the Cold Lake radio, and then sure enough, phones started going off, and yeah, it was nuts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like you said, it grew the game, and that's exactly what they wanted. I mean, without him, there's no Florida, there's no Tampa, there's no Nashville. Take your pick.
Yeah, it was a tough day for the city of Edmonton, but it definitely grew hockey. So I think that's a good thing.
What was it like being a part of that? Because I was obviously, I don't mean to date you, but I wasn't even born when that happened.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
I was.
it was crazy because nobody expected that, but it became a business, and the meatpacking industry was on the decline, and Peter needed money.
Well, I've told this story before, but my father, who was a diehard Habs fan growing up in Eastern Ontario, realized the business of all that. And as you know, Peter Pockley didn't own Palm Dairies.
Yeah.
There was no more Palm Dairies allowed in our house.
Yeah.
That was it. Full boycott, Lucerne. Yeah. Lucerne sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really unfortunate, but it happened, and it grew the game.
And looking back, it worked out pretty well for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it stung the city because once, they started selling off the players, I got traded in 96, and then there was a very, very young group, and it took a long, long time for them to get back into, a real competitive team again. They had the one little stint there with Rolly the goalie and stuff, but then it was some hard times, real hard times.
And this is going to be a tough comment to make, especially to a guy like you, but we saw all of the crimes that the Toronto Maple Leafs made with the old boys club, just stuffing the press box with all of the old players, right? Yeah. And I kind of felt like the Edmonton Oilers did that with Kevin Lowe. As much as I love the guy, he was great. Did you ever get that phone call saying, "Hey, come be part of the front office"?
No, I think when I go into something, I go into it full tilt, and the LA Kings organization has treated me unbelievably. So it's, there was, probably more the media creating it than anything that, for me to go there. But the bottom line is I've been treated very well by the LA Kings organization. Mr. Anschutz is an unbelievable owner, treats everybody, like they're special. So it's hard to, leave something like that. So it's, I've been part of 2 really great families in Edmonton there for almost 10 years, and now 19 years with LA. So it's crazy.
And this episode is awesome, but it would be a lot better if you could hear it with crystal clear audio, which is why JLab is the presenting sponsor for this show and the presenting sponsor for this episode. Crystal clear audio. We're talking their sport wireless earbud. Whether you're looking for something for training, you're looking for something at the gym, JLab has it all. With the sport earbuds, we're talking 20 hours of Bluetooth playback. They're sweat-proof. They have a no-slip strip, so they grip on nicely, and noise canceling for crystal clear calls. The over-the-ear headphones have 40-plus hours of active noise canceling, 70 hours of audio playback without the active noise canceling on. And what are you waiting for? Right now, go to the link in the description. Use our code. You're going to get yourself 10% off an amazing set of headphones or earbuds from JLab.
It's like you were in my head this entire time. That sounded fantastic. Thank you, JLabs.
Back to the show.
One thing I noticed in today's day and age of goaltending in comparison to when you played is I felt like, and this could be just the kid in me talking, but I felt like most elite goaltenders like yourself, there was a signature. There was, that's a Bill Ranford move. Oh, that's a Patty Roy move. That's a Dominic move. I don't feel like there's many signature goaltenders. If you kind of get my metaphor on that.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't many goalie coaches at the time to really keep that structure in place. So you kind of became your own individual, and you did whatever you could to stay in the game. And the one thing that I've always said, and it's hard to say as a goalie coach, but sometimes it gets overcoached. And I know for myself, there's a lot of times where I tried to step back and just say, you know what, I'm going to leave these guys alone. I know it's my job, but sometimes they have to grow themselves. And I think sometimes we as coaches overcoach it. And I think that's something that it really gets talked about on a regular basis now as coaching staffs, to have the guys prepared, but try not to overcoach, because then they become robots. And that's the last thing you want.
You find that there's like a secret sauce to it, because like you've been a goalie coach for almost 2 decades, and along the way, Jonathn, Bernier, Scrivens, Jones, the countless list of guys that you develop, which, obviously Quickie was the starter, but then you develop these assets for the team to use to bring something else in. Even though maybe like you're stepping away, you're still producing results. Like, was there a secret sauce to that, to getting the most out of these guys?
Yeah, the secret sauce was attention to detail and work ethic. That's the way I approached it. I tried not to create these cookie cutter goalies. I wanted them to basically, they got there for a reason. Their talent got them there, and I tried to build off of their talent and just try and my main things were detail and work ethic.
Is there any details that come to mind where you start, like let's say like a Ben Scrivens, like, okay, here's Scrivy, where do we build out from here?
Well, Ben Scrivens was probably the first goalie that I quote unquote tried to rebuild. I had to explain to him that there was parts of his game that just weren't working, and to be patient with me. And I use the analogy that you give them tools, and if they work, you put them in the toolbox. If they don't, you chuck them out and try some others. And basically with Scrivs, it was the lower part of the net, just over the pads, that he struggled with. So I actually had a practice where I told every one of our guys to shoot in the same spot, and he didn't make a save. He could not make the save, and so we talked about it afterwards, and we started making some adjustments, and his game really started to come about. And then the injury to Quickie that year, we had to go to him early on, and then also there ended up being the emergence of Jonesy. So that it was kind of a different year, a roller coaster year for me, but 2 guys end up having really good seasons.
Can I ask how you fixed that? Because I remember when he was playing in Toronto, he had the glove position that was kind of like up like this.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So he had the big wings, and so the first thing I did was I dropped his hands just to almost like a natural baseball position where you're getting ready to receive the baseball. That's how I started with him. That's exactly what we started with, and that naturally brought his feet in closer, which allowed him to have easier edges, so he wasn't getting these hard edges where he was stuck all the time, and just there was more flow to his game. But the hands was the first spot that I started.
Yeah, because he was super successful in that period. I remember even because I think I was around.
He was leading the league when we traded him to Edmonton.
That's good trade bait.
Max value.
Yeah.
Well, then he put up that record-breaking 62 save shutout against San Jose with the Kings gear in the Oilers jersey too.
Yeah.
And then I remember that.
Well, one of the funniest things that happened with him, one of his first games for us, he played in Florida, and I think it was like a 2 or 3-0 shutout, and this is just the way I coached. It's about detail, and the next morning. I do my video session with him, and I said, "What'd you think?" I always try and ask him, "What'd you think of your game last night?" And he goes, "Oh, it's pretty good. Made some saves, shutout." And I said, "Really? Well, we're going to walk through this." And I said, "If you think you're going to be successful playing this way, you got another thing coming." So we walked through the game and stuff, and it was a little bit of an eye opener for him, and that's how I approached. I don't want our guys to be up and down like a roller coaster. I want this consistent goalie. And if you have that detail, and that night, even though he got the shutout, he could have given up 7. There wasn't the detail that he needed in his game to be successful and for a long run. So that's how kind of our relationship started there a little bit with his first win. And that's what I want. Always wanted my goalies to understand what their game looked like when they were playing well.
That's where the glove adjustment started?
The glove adjustment started way before that, because he didn't play a lot in the first part until Quickie got hurt, and I noticed I thought the glove problem, it was a problem that needed to be fixed. That was basically right out of training camp.
And then you basically did the same thing with Jones, where you brought him up to be a big asset. I mean, he led the Sharks to the Cup final.
Yeah.
Was there a secret sauce for him too, or a detail that?
No, Jonesy was a signing out of junior, a free agent signing. Mark Crawford's son Dylan played all hockey in Vancouver growing up with him, and he was with the Calgary Hitmen at the time. And I had a little bit of a relationship with Dave Lowry, and Dave was the assistant turning into the head coach. And that summer when we invited him, Dave said, "You're going to like this kid. He didn't get drafted because he just didn't play enough." And he said, "I'm going to play him this year." And we had him in training camp. We kept holding on to him. And Dean Lombardi, it's one of the first times where I get called upstairs and you're going to put your you-know-what on the line for this kid? And I said, absolutely. And so we ended up signing him and sending him back to junior and watched him closely that junior year. And then he started his pro career the following season.
You must have been puckering a little bit going, I hope this works out.
Yeah. I mean, there's times, you're not always going to be right. And those were one of the fortunate times that I was right. And, you every once in a while, you got to take those chances and believe in a kid. And Marty was one of those guys that right from the get-go, his first day in rookie camp and stuff, he just carried himself like a pro. I was just so impressed. And this is a guy just showing up to his first NHL camp, and I just liked his demeanor. I liked the way he approached things. And so to me, it was a little bit of a no-brainer. You got to take swings. And I felt just the way he was a guy that we could take a swing on.
Well, for a guy that's been through every aspect of the game at this point, and I'm assuming you get more time at the beginning of their career than you do at the end, but from a player / coach / everything that you've done perspective, is it more important to give these guys the coaching that they need financially when they're coming into the league or when they're exiting out?
Oh, I mean, I think there's a little bit of both. You got to kind of be, almost like a parent to them a little bit and try and help them out. But, from the financial side, I didn't really try and get involved too much, but I just wanted guys to be smart, be smart early on. And then, as you move along, a lot of the guys end up with girlfriends, wives, families. And then you got to start thinking about your family. And that's kind of the way those talks that I have with guys. If you saw guys spending stupidly, then I would, just pull them off the side and go, let's just be smart about it. Could end tomorrow.
Anything come to mind? Like no names, obviously, but like dumb stuff that they would buy?
I'm sure there's lots of those.
Where do you start?
I don't think it wasn't a goalie, but it was one of our players, and I just kind of pulled them off the side. It was like they got into watches and bags, and I said, you know what? It could end tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Like you really need to just think about what you're doing. It's great that you're in the NHL right now and stuff, but not to be negative, but you're one injury away from being out of the league. So just think about your future. That's kind of the way I approached it.
Financially, how it's changed from in the 80s. That signing bonus. I mean, now guys that are going in the top 10 are getting a check for $850,000 at 18 years old. I mean, that's a huge responsibility. And if there's nobody like you or at least a worthy parent to kind of go, okay, here's how we're going to do this, that spells trouble. Yeah.
And I think that's where you really hope it wasn't only me, it was our leadership group. I think, the Copies and the Brownies of the world, you hope that they'll step in a little bit. Because, some guys come in and they want to buy, they see the top dogs with a, $150,000 vehicle and they want to do the same thing. Like, no. Why would you do that? Pay your dues, and when you get to be a big dog, that's when you spend the big dog money.
Do you remember what your big first dumb purchase was?
How much was it for, first off, before you tell us? I'm curious.
No, I don't.
It was a while ago, right?
I don't think I ever, that's when I think just my upbringing with,
That's what Brandon Manitoba will do for everybody.
Military, you know, my dad didn't make my first contract, when I got to Boston, my first pro season, my dad had to co-sign for a credit card for me. I had no credit rating, and I was making twice as much money as my dad, who had been working for 30 years already.
Wow.
So that's the reality for me. When I broke into the league, I thought, okay, if I could make $50,000 for 10 years, you know, because my dad averaged probably anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 during his military career. I was like, if I can make $50,000 for 10 years, that's and be smart about it, then I can provide for my family. So that's the way I approached it. And I always tried to make my purchases within my means. My first condo was a little tiny condo in Edmonton, and then I upgraded to a little nicer condo. Then my first house was a little house, and that's what we always did. The only purchase that really got me in trouble was when I was buying a home in Boston after I signed my extension and then got traded a month later. And I was fortunate enough that I only lost because it was through a friend of a friend that I was able to only lose a little bit of the down payment. But I would say that was the craziest thing I did.
For all of our viewers and listeners in Edmonton, where was your where was home base for you? What was your hood?
My hood,
Millwoods, Sherwood Park.
I started off on the south side. What was it called? Heritage Village or whatever. The mall's not even there anymore.
Yeah, that's central now.
Yeah, and then I think it was Carrington Homes, if I remember correctly, in Millwoods, and then the first home was Riverbend area, one of the right off the what's the highway there going into Riverbend, whatever it's called now.
That wasn't Y Road. That was out towards Sherwood Park. You're jogging my memory now. It's been a while since I've been out that way too.
Whatever the main highway kind of thing where, and then you
the White Mud.
Yeah. White Mud Freeway. Yeah, just off the White Mud in Riverbend when they started building on the south side is that was the first home. Yeah.
What was one of your favorite things about Edmonton?
The fans, people, they die hard. It was crazy.
What about living there?
It was a good city. Like it gets a really bad reputation. It was a great city to live in.
River Valley is beautiful too, huh?
Yeah, the River Valley. Well, it's my time wasn't so much. Now it's beautiful. Like down by the ballpark and stuff, they fixed all that area up, and obviously there was the River Valley area where Gretz and Mess and Kevin and all those guys lived at the time, but. Then they really fixed up the area down by the ballpark and all that. And a lot of guys started moving in there, and then obviously now all the condos downtown Edmonton. Everybody's kind of it's the young guys move into the condos and the older guys move south.
Of course,
yeah.
Well, out of curiosity, seeing Edmonton grow, like when you go back there and you're doing business there with the Kings, we've talked about it on the podcast in previous episodes, but the fact that Northlands is probably going to get torn down here in the next year or so.
I hope not. But we used to be able to go from one end of the city to the other in like 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. You can't go 3 lights now in 15 minutes in Edmonton. How much it's changed.
Totally.
Yeah. I hope that. I mean, just Northlands. It's such an iconic building, and not only for the hockey but for the concert series. It's one of the greatest buildings to listen to music in, and still to this day the big bands that are getting ready to go on arena tours rent the space before they go out just to get ready because it's just iconic.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to see them do with it? Because I could be wrong, but I think that the Oilers gave it to the city on the condition no sports events, no concerts, do anything else you want, and it's just been sitting. So what would you like to see them do with it?
I just hope it just doesn't get knocked down. It's out of my realm. I haven't been there for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. I don't know what ideas they have for it, but it would be sad to see, but it's also a big piece of property, and Totally. It all comes down to money. And yeah,
you said mall and water park, right?
Well, they already got one of those in West End.
Yeah, the second one.
I actually said what I'd like to see them do is do the same thing that Toronto did with the old Maple Leaf Gardens. Ryerson University took it over and turned it into a half mall, half education, half this, half that. I think it's a great spot in Edmonton to do that.
How about pickleball courts?
There you go. I love it. Condos all the way around retirement center.
There we go.
Yeah,
keep
them contained.
Yeah, there we go.
The state of the game right now, the goaltending that you're seeing, the way you're seeing the game move. We've talked about the rumors about Gary Bettman maybe calling it quits at the end of this year. In your estimation, where is the game right now?
I think it's pretty healthy right now. Obviously there's, I'd hate to see it happen, but there's talk about, the problems they're having here and in Winnipeg, but it's just such an iconic city and there's the history here, and I hope they can find a way to figure it out. But I think they've really done a pretty good job in solidifying all the organizations, and there's the odd blip here and there, but I think the state of the game's pretty good after what we went through with the bubble and COVID and all that. But the game's been good to me. Like I've got no complaints.
Mike Keane said the same thing. Do you guys know each other?
I know. I just know Mike from playing against him, just a superhuman being and stuff. But the way I look at it, the game's been really good to me. I've got no complaints.
Good for you.
Do you have any memories of the old Winnipeg Arena and playing the Jets?
Oh my God, my first junior game, the Queen up at the end was with the New Westminster Bruins.
What happened to that painting?
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere, I think, yeah. But my first junior game, it was whoever shot last, and thank God it was us. I think it was a 9-8 win. But my first pro hockey game, I was living in Portage La Prairie, and Chico Resch was a relative through marriage. My mom's sister was married to a Resch, and so my first ever NHL game was making the drive I was supposed to see him with the New York Islanders. He got traded like 3 days before, and we didn't have any money. So it was a big deal. And to be able to come up to the game, and then made a phone call, and they swapped the tickets out for the Colorado, and Colorado was in like a couple of weeks later. So I got to meet him for the first time. And so my first NHL game and my first junior game were in this building.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
In the old Winnipeg Arena.
When you see the technology that has come through, is there any part of you sometimes that goes, man, if I would have had those light pads and those light skates and all that gear, do you think there would have been a more success or different success or a different style of play?
Well, I think the mental grind, I think with one of the things that I think what I went through made me what I am today. But the mental grind, if I would have had a goalie coach, maybe sometimes could have taken that, that extra set of eyes, might have helped. But it also, that me versus you kind of thought process made me the goalie I was, and probably the coach. When I look back now, I've kind of stepped into this different role, as the director of goaltending. I just wish I would have enjoyed playing a little bit more. That's probably my biggest regret, and probably even as a coach, I wish I would have enjoyed it more.
Hey, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Second best time is right now.
Yeah.
So I hope you're enjoying it now.
Yeah. You know what? The new role I'm really enjoying. I was apart from my wife for 14 years full time. Lucky if I saw her once a month, and she was doing her thing in Vancouver. I was doing my thing in LA, and I told my two girls that when you start having the grandbabies, I'll try and make the change. And Blakey was great. Blakey talked about 3 or 4 years ago. He goes, "How much longer are you going to do this?" So we kind of had a plan, and we're 2 years into it, and it seems to be working. And I enjoy my role, and then it still gives me the flexibility to be with the 3 grandchildren and actually spend some time with my wife. So
for those that don't know, I'm assuming you're talking about Rob Blake, of course.
Yes.
You keep in touch with a lot of the old guys? When I say old guys, I mean guys from the old days, not that you're all old guys.
You know what? That's the neat thing about coaching, and now in the scouting role that I'm in, where I get on the road and scout, is you start to run into the old guard, and it's amazing. Anybody that you played with, it's a teammate for life. So you see them on the road, and the other thing, the most bizarre thing when I retired is running into some of the Calgary alumni, because there's that hated rivalry, and then you find out they're pretty good guys, and it's so hard to say, but it's and I still haven't been to it, and my mom and dad are still in Red Deer, and they have the big golf tournament, the Oilers versus the Flames in Red Deer, and one of these, I'm always involved with the Kings doing something at that time, which is unfortunate, but one of these days I got to take part in it because there's some special guys in both groups.
Yeah. Bring you golfing for our golf series. Dave's basically club
I'm
pro.
a terrible golfer.
Oh, great. We can battle over second
Look,
worst.
Yeah.
Bill, as I've said before, you don't have to be good at something in order to enjoy it.
Yeah.
As long as you enjoy the game.
Yeah. I don't play much, but, it's one of those things that they have that Battle of Alberta and Red Deer on the golf course, and it sounds like it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I could ask, sorry to cut you off, Dave. You mentioned like staying with your wife for so much time. If you want, we can skip this one. But like, how do you make that work for all that time? Because you're traveling around playing in the NHL, and then you're coaching, and you've managed to have some success. So like, what do you think?
She is a very, very special human being to put up with it. I mean, she's a special person to put up with it. When I was playing the tail end of my career, the kids were young. And then, I dabbled around a little bit for 5 or 6 years with junior hockey and stuff, just seeing if – I never thought I'd be a coach. And then I started dabbling in it, and then the opportunity came up with LA, and she says, go try it. And not in my wildest dreams would I thought I'd be with – it just doesn't happen as a coach that you're with an organization for 17 years. And
well, just to go back to that whole transition of from playing to what's next, I'm almost fascinated at the fact that that wasn't your first option. It's like, how do I stay a part of the game? Because I think a lot of guys that are transitioning out of the game would like to stay a part of it through broadcasting or coaching or scouting, whatever it may be. And a lot of them don't get that.
Well, one of the things I did is the Life After Hockey program. I went and did the broadcasting seminar at Quinnipiac. So I did that. So I thought maybe that's something that I might dabble in a little bit. And I was doing a little bit in Vancouver with that. And then all of a sudden I got a phone call from Dean Chenoweth, to come to Seattle if I was interested in doing that, because I was involved with the Coquitlam Express in the BC Junior League a little bit, helping out. I was kind of a part owner with Dave Lowry and Kirk McLean and Darcy Rhoda, so I was kind of just dabbling a little bit. And then Dean gave me the call, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll give this a try. And then the following year, Don Hay gave me a call and said the job with the Vancouver Giants, and that just made more sense to be right in my backyard. That's kind of how it all happened. And then, then I got the phone call from Mark Crawford, hey, the job's of yours in LA if you want it. So
wow,
it's kind of bizarre. I interviewed for the goalie coaching job the year I retired in Vancouver. And they say, well, you've got no experience. And I was like, just finished playing 15 years. Like, what are you talking about? And they were right.
Well, because you didn't have one, right? So how do you do a role that's never really existed, right?
Yeah, and they were right. And it took me in LA. Back then there was no guidebook, to being a goalie coach, and I had to learn myself. And there was a lot.
You kind of wrote the book as you went along,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I did. And some tough conversations with Dean Lombardi, my GM at the time, and trying to figure it out, and him trying to guide me a little bit. And and there's a lot of sleepless nights and questioning whether I was good enough at the position. And then I got to point about year 7 or 8 that I finally realized that, I'm good at this. And, but I also was humble enough to keep working at it, and keep working at it. And don't think I didn't ever think that I had all the answers. And I still don't to this day. I'm still talking to goalie coaches, still talking to other guys, always trying to get better.
Well, I give Trav a hard time all the time about being a goalie. And like, you guys are on an island. I mean, like, you get compared to kickers in the NFL, drummers and bands. You're on an island. You're by yourself. And all of a sudden, when goalie coaches come in, that island gets a little bit bigger. And I'm sure in your mind, like you said, you leave these guys alone sometime, but it's like, no. There needs to be a balance. And I think that balance is still trying to be figured out a lot of times, depending on the psyche of whoever you're dealing with.
Yeah, no, for sure. And there's always it's the trying to fit in with the coaching staff, and you're not on the bench, so you're coming down between periods, and the goalie's giving up a stinker, and everybody's looking at you when you walk through the door and trying to deal with that. And yeah, it's and the role of the goalie coach has really changed. When I broke in, it was strictly working with the goalies. Now a lot of guys are eye in the sky. They're working with the injured guys. skating the extra guys, the roles really change. A lot of the goalie coaches now have become assistant coaches. It's changed. The dynamic has changed a lot.
The first guy that comes to mind is a guy like Wade Flaherty, who was probably around the same time, and probably tried to figure things out as he went along as well.
Lot of great conversations with Wade over the years. Him and I had some great conversations, especially when Hellebuck was coming into the league. So it was because the guy that I had as our AHL guy at the time was Dusty Emu, and he had Helly in the minors and stuff. So there was lots of conversations.
Well, look, I mean, Helly's one of the greatest goaltenders of this generation. There's no doubt. And being an American, it's kind of, as Canadians, we kind of go, that doesn't seem right. But the same way as a guy like Austin Matthews comes out of Phoenix. And again, going back to the whole Gretzky thing, this is what we bred.
Yep.
We're seeing more and more guys. U.S. just wins the World Championship. The game is growing to a point where Canada's kind of sitting on the sidelines going, what did we do? Like, it's still our game, but everyone's now in that culture and wanting to be just as good.
Oh, exactly. And the tough part, I think the tough or disappointing part is it's just become a very, very expensive sport.
Bingo.
And it's hard. Like, I don't know, on a military salary if I would have been able to succeed in today's environment.
Well, I always say whenever I meet somebody who's a father of an up-and-coming goaltender, I always say, God bless you.
Yeah.
God bless you, because financially, that's even more than being a player.
Yeah.
And you're being asked to do everything under the sun. Can you come to this camp? Can you come be a goaltender in this? And you guys are a special breed. I've always said that. I don't think anything's changed, has it, Bill?
No, it hasn't changed. I consider myself one of the more straight and narrow of the group, but there's been some crazy ones over the years. There's no doubt about that.
Anyone come to mind for nutty guys?
Eddie Belfour was the craziest that I was around.
Another
for
Manitoban.
Sure. Yeah. He was crazy. I had the experience of Canada Cup with him and just the stories over the years. Hexy had that, another Brandon goalie, born in Brandon. He had an edge to him. That ability to shoot the puck. If he wasn't happy with a teammate, he just fired at him. He could shoot it as hard as the players could. But he had that inner fire that,
You think he's the toughest of all time?
He's up there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure.
We were debating the other day, would you pick Emery or Hextall in a fight?
I'm going Hextall every time.
Yeah.
You had to put money on one.
From what I heard, Emery was pretty tough. Sean Burke, big boy. I don't know if I would want to mess with Berkey. He's a big, strong guy.
Bit of a dark horse.
Yeah. Emery was tough, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think Emery might be the toughest of my time.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Just sad story.
It's been, 5-6 years since he passed?
Yeah. No, longer than that.
It's been a longer than that, I think.
Yeah. At least a decade.
Yeah. My first square off was in Buffalo with Clint Malarchuk. I've never been so scared in my life. He was a
pre or post?
It would probably be pre-injury.
Okay.
Yeah. It would have been. I was line brawl and we at center ice, and thank goodness he didn't start throwing punches. He was a big, tough cowboy.
Mm. Yeah, Vegreville, Alberta, right?
I think so. Yeah. And that wouldn't have been good for me.
Just more of a wrestling match.
Just hanging on, and I tried to give my scariest look, and he's like, "Settle down, kid." I'm like, "Okay, yes, Mr. Malarchuk." Yeah.
Well, listen, Bill, it's been an absolute pleasure. As a kid growing up in northern Alberta and watching the glory days of the Oilers, it's been a real pleasure. And I know Travis, he was tickled pink when you reached out to come on the pod today. It's been.
You got to ask about Mark Fitzpatrick though. What about that fight?
Oh yeah,
I saw the video.
That's probably one of my. I just got traded Washington. That's probably he wasn't happy with me at that one. That was probably one that just everything came together. He was struggling. He was trying to pick a fight with everybody that night. It was late in the game, and that was a long skate. I had to skate from my net all the way down to the far end, far blue line, and I just got lucky. I got a good grab. I got the jersey, the helmet all in one, and a few uppercuts, and I'll tell you what, he was not happy. One of my better fights, and then we played each other like I don't know, about a week later, and we both weren't playing. And he kind of we're both at the red line, and he kind of slides over beside me. He goes, "You want to go again?" Yeah.
What'd you say?
I just laughed. I said, I got lucky once. I wasn't going to get lucky twice. I wasn't tough. I wasn't. I fought. That's probably one of the other things that I wish I fought a lot early on in my pro career and in practice and stuff. And I look back at that now and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Well, actually, it's funny you bring that up. There's something that was told to me by a friend of a friend of a friend. Okay. So this is a few times removed. But somebody told me once upon a time, they said Bill Ranford would get angry when he let in a goal in practice.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Why?
That was my competitive spirit. I did not like to get scored on. Hated it.
Even in practice?
Even in practice.
Just knowing you're standing there's a few that's going to go by and warm up, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Hated it. Still to this day. Hasn't changed.
You still put them on every once in a while?
Every once in a while. Last year was the first year that I didn't put the pads on. Kopi would always want me to put the pads on at least once a year, and because I wasn't the goalie coach, obviously last year, that was the first year that I did not put the pads on once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, you have 2 daughters. Now you have grandkids. Now there's an up and coming Ranford lineage?
I don't know. We do have a my poor father-in-law. There was 9 girls, and now there's a little boy.
Finally.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Rory. Little Rory, he's 5 months old, so we'll see what happens there. But
perfect.
Or who knows? Maybe one of the girls. Who knows?
Well, look, the PWHL is doing quite well. It's pretty healthy these days.
Well, I had Shannon Zabitis as at my goalie schools in Sylvan Lake back in the day, and the way she put goaltending on the map. One of these days you're going to see it. I think you may see finally a female goalie in the NHL. You may see it at some time.
We saw it. Manon Rhéaume.
Yep.
We saw it.
She works with my goaltending department.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. She's with LA.
Well, give her my best. Honestly,
she's awesome.
She was the only poster I was allowed to have in my room of a female growing up.
Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah. It might have been against us. It was in Vegas, right? That she played the game.
Yep.
It might have been against us.
Tampa, Washington?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Are you still rocking Vaughn gear these days?
Oh, always will.
You had some of the best style back in the day, though. Like I remember the Oilers mask. Remember Dubnyk replicated that?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. When I was a kid, I was like 14, 15. I saw that, and then I saw the side-by-side of your mask and his. Yeah. I was playing for a Chicago color team at the time, but I was like, I want to get a mask like that. I don't care that it doesn't match. Like it was just such a cool mask.
Yeah.
And then the setups you had. I remember the Detroit setup, the all red with the white stripe, Vaughn Vision, beautiful style. The Vaughn, I think the Legacies you had in Edmonton.
Yeah. Most times it was the Legacy. Yeah.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the Boston setup, but the Washington one was really crisp too. You had a really good.
The Boston setup, I didn't really have much control. That happened quick, and I was struggling with my pads at that time because I think when I got to Detroit, I had to go into the U.S. brand, and I wasn't as comfortable in the U.S. And Ross Agathis that did the Canadian stuff. Because I was when I went to Detroit, obviously Vaughn's based in Detroit. I had to go to the U.S. stuff and Mike Vaughn and I'll always be a Vaughn guy. That won't ever change.
You have a favorite setup, like one that comes to mind? Like I look the best in that.
Probably the setup that I wore in the outdoor game here in Winnipeg. That was, I think, one of my classic setups. I think that was probably one of my favorites.
It's basically the 1990 graphic.
I think something, yeah.
Legacy.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Whatever happened to the Oilers mask with the cup-winning oil drop Dubnyk replica? Or the one that Dubnyk copied, I should say.
I don't know.
Really? You didn't
where mine is?
Yeah.
I have all mine. I have all mine.
Cool.
The masks are special. Those are the ones you keep the most?
Yeah, well, Edmonton was pretty tight with the budget. I had one mask the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, I had to get it repainted.
No kidding.
They wouldn't give you more than one?
Well, yeah, I had one.
Compared to now, where the guys get like
so
10 masks.
I had to get it repainted because they painted over it when I got traded until my mask was ready for painted it all white till I got my one in Boston. So I had to get it repainted. So it's not the original paint, but I still have the mask.
You must have been so chapped.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, but I've got some. They did. Pro Choice did a real nice one for the Heritage Classic. So I got a nice one for that for the last one with the setup and everything. So
Cool.
Yeah, that's one thing. I've got a little bit of a stick collection from the guys that I kind of respected of my time, and then I kept my masks. That's about it. Didn't keep a lot. And my dad, I think has my 1990 setup in the basement.
There's a line, I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan or not, but there's a line in Star Wars where one of the characters says, when you lived as long as I have, you start seeing the same eyes in different people. Are there players that you've come across in your coaching where you kind of go, oh, that reminds me of A, B, C, and have and kind of a two-part question, does that help you deal with them?
The athlete's a new breed, and it's been a real adjustment in some of but like the two that, the three. Dustin Brown, play through anything, Kevin Lowe. Kevin Lowe, 90 run, broken ribs, getting them frozen up each. Dustin Brown, never seen a guy, except for guys in our era that would play through pain like he would. Kopitar, just the pro. And then Quickie, the gamer. He was a gamer. He's old school. He's all about team, not about stats, about winning, and he's a gamer.
Well, it's funny how you mentioned that there's been a progress in the players where now I would assume as part of the coaching staff, back in the 80s and 90s, your biggest fear was how late are they going to be out of the bar. Now it's how late are they going to be up playing Fortnite in their hotel room.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that's changed a little bit, but that was a huge, huge issue. You're getting guys coming to the rink and tired and glassy-eyed because they've been up playing the video games all night. And I think it's getting a little bit more controlled. But yeah, that was a huge, huge problem. They flipped the alcohol for video games.
Right.
And the guys take care of themselves. You got to give them credit the way they treat their bodies now. And we're talking from the East Coast League now right up. Like I've worked with our guys in the East Coast League, and that used to be just the fighting league, and now it's become a really good development league. And the guys are, you're still going to have that group of guys that aren't, but it's guys take care of their bodies.
Amazing. Well, listen, you mentioned bumping into the old guys earlier. I'm sure you take a little bit of pride in the fact that you're still looking nice and trim at your age.
Yeah, I think the job change helped. I talking to Wade Flaherty, he goes, you look 10 years younger. I said, yeah, because after 40 years of sitting on the edge of my seat for every save and every win and loss, this has been a nice change.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good.
I got to ask you about Quickie though. Like, where was the first moment where you're like, this guy has it? Because you've seen him from when he was drafted to trade, right?
Yeah, like. When I got there, we'd already drafted Quickie, and so I went and saw him in college, and he comes out, hat crooked, big chew in his mouth, and just happy to be alive, and when his first year pro, there was some ups and downs, but he was just in the East Coast League in Reading, he was just a gamer. And Carl Taylor was the coach down there, and he said he thinks there was nights that he'd let in a goal just so it would go to a shootout or overtime and stuff, just so he could make some saves. But Quickie was just always the gamer, and I could relate to him from the athletic standpoint, but I also understood that it's a really hard way to play the game, and so we just started working on just getting him a little bit more structured and whenever he needed that athletic ability to let it come out. So it was a real fun process, kind of growing up with him. And I was growing up as a goalie coach, and he was growing up as a professional goalie. So it was a really amazing experience. And just keeps coming back to this city, man. Like when I found out in Winnipeg here, when he got traded, it was tough. It might have been one of the toughest days of my time with the LA Kings.
Well, as we said, it's show business, not show friends, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure. When I talk to a lot of musical bands, I'll use Jack White as an example. I asked him the question. I said, if you could give yourself any advice when you were first breaking into the industry, what would it be? And I think it's a little different for you because you get to do that with all these fresh faces that are coming in. But if I asked you that question, would it be the same thing that you're telling these kids now, or would you give young Bill Ranford a different set of advice?
The only thing I would say, I think, is what I said earlier, is I wish I would have had just a little bit more fun. But
I don't know. It looked like you were having a lot of fun,
yeah,
man.
just wasn't really in my DNA. I'm so competitive. I'm still to this day.
That's the military upbringing, right?
No, just that's me. That's me. I like it. You put a racket in my hand, you put a bat in my hand. You know, I played all sports growing up, and I was just ultra competitive, and I still am to this day. My kids make fun of me. Like, you know, the latest is I was that way playing tennis with my father-in-law, and then now the pickleball with the kids. The son-in-laws are much younger and much more fit than I am, but I am still competitive as can be against them, and that's just the way I am.
Well, that's one thing that we've talked about a lot on this podcast is one thing we're not seeing in this day and age with young athletes is cross-training. You said you played every sport growing up. You know, in the summertime you played baseball and you get hungry to get back on the ice, where now it's just 12 months out of the year.
I think that it's too much what guys do now. I've always said that. I did a kind of a talk with parents last year at what do they call it, Tendy Fest, that they do across Canada. So In Goal magazine brought me out, and I did a talk, and it probably might have pissed off a few people, but I believe it. Like you have to do. I was the goalie that I was because I played baseball, and the hand-eye coordination that I picked up of catching a baseball and hitting a baseball was a big part of it. I played a ton of badminton in military. A lot of the military guys from Quebec played badminton. So when I was in Portage la Prairie, I took up when I was a Bantam age. I played badminton on the military base like 3-4 times a week.
Do you get any shuttlecock jokes in the locker room?
No. I didn't know that's what it was called. It was a birdie when I played, but you hear it, yeah. But so that, you know, I played baseball, I played soccer, you know, and badminton was a big thing that I took up. Was huge for reflexes.
Fast game.
Yeah.
Very underestimated.
Yeah. So I was playing a lot of the men. I was Bantam age. So what was I?
14, 15?
Yeah. 13, 12, 13. Bantam back then. It changed. I think it's switched by a couple of years now.
Yeah, they changed it.
Yeah. So I was playing against men and a little scrawny kid, like 100 pounds, and playing against these men. So
the Forrest Gump of badminton.
Yeah, exactly. So I just believe that you know, they talk about why is there this big influx of Russian goalies and stuff, because there's been a focus over there of athlete first and technical second, and I think that's where you know, they talk about there's a few things. You know, why is Canadian goaltending fallen behind? I think one of it is it's become such a competitive market with goalie coaches in the different cities that everybody's trying to come up with their own thing instead of just coming up with a plan like the other countries have done. And then I think the system is a little bit broken for our CHL goalies, and now that's probably going to change.
Bingo.
You know, you're forced. I get to ask this question, and I'm just going to throw my 2 cents on it. Is a CHL goalie, you're coming out coming out of your entry level contract at 21, 22 years old. Well, you get the players that come over from Europe or through college, they're coming out of their entry level at 24, 25. Mm-hmm. And there's some outliers. Mm-hmm. But now when you look at a goalie at 25 and you got to make a decision on that second contract versus a goalie at 21, 22, it's a big difference. Mm-hmm. If we can get those Canadian goalies another 3-4 years playing with men, because that's what's happening in Europe. They're playing with men already. Mm-hmm. And the whole dynamic of college hockey has changed, where the age group has increased, where the young players, your stars are still going to come out when they're going to go to college right away out of high school. But now you've got 1 to 3 bridge years where they're playing BC Junior and the Junior A leagues to keep their eligibility, and they're now pulling them out at 19, 20 instead of 17, 18. So now all of a sudden these goalies are coming out of their entry level at 24, 25. That's a big difference.
Yep.
And they're playing against men because the competitive schools have all the young superstars. But all of a sudden now all these other schools are just bringing in an older player. Like some of the teams in the Final Four have 24, 25-year-old players because it's a way for them to be competitive against the top money schools.
Yep.
So that's where my thing is. This might be good for our Canadian goalies that you're not having to decide it on them at 21, 22. Now it's 23, 24. Put them on a more even playing field, and we'll see if that balances it out a little bit.
So would you open up the eligibility to like 22, 23 for the CHL?
Not for the C. You can't. It's going to end at 20, but it's now not. They're going to have, like, it's already happening. Guys have college deals already coming out of the CHL for next year.
Yep.
So it's already happening. But my thing is, if this didn't happen, if there was a way to change the CBA for those goalies so that they weren't coming out of their entry level so young. Well, it wasn't going to happen because of the whole legality of it.
Well, I think who's going to suffer the most is the CIS, Canadian University, who has had amazing hockey players come through after their Western Hockey League or CHL careers, having not being able to go to the NCAA, would go get a free education as they were promised, and now that's going to go possibly by the wayside. I think the whole landscape of North American hockey.
It's going to change completely, because I was just reading an article today on the plane. USHL, there's teams that are wanting to leave the USHL and look at going into the Ontario League.
Well, say the same thing in the BCJ.
That's already happened. Yeah.
No, Logan Thompson too. He's a CIS goalie. Played 2 years, I think, at Lakehead.
Yeah,
and now one of the best. Stolen the job in Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Wild Wild West, man. Here
yeah,
it comes.
so that's the thing that it's going to get real interesting, the whole dynamic of what's going to happen, and now all of a sudden some of those late bloomers are maybe going to get a chance. It's going to be tough both ways.
Yep.
Anyway, somebody's going to get burned in the long run with this until they settle it out. But
well, we've seen it go both ways. We've seen guys that had all the promise in the world join the league at 18 and then be a bust, and then other guys who don't develop, like you said, till they're 25. And if you could just have a little more patience and have a place to put them, they could be an absolute diamond in the rough.
Yeah, but you're going to have a few of these junior A goalies that have been waiting on their scholarship, and all of a sudden you've got a 21-year-old coming out of the CHL that's played some real good hockey that's going to take their job before they even get a chance. So it's going to take a little bit for it to kind of get to where it's figured out.
Does that make your job easier or harder?
It doesn't change my job. What it might give us as organizations. And that's where the CBA is going to have to. They're going to have to make adjustments on that. Rather than having to make it a decision on the goalie coming out of CHL, you might get a couple more years with him going to university. But I don't know enough about the CBA. I'm just learning a lot of that stuff now. They might have to make an alteration in that to allow those guys the flexibility, because you have their rights till they're like 25 or whatever the heck it is now.
I think we're only a decade away from seeing what they do over in England when it comes to footy players, where you can sign a kid as young as 12 years old and put him in your developmental league.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so no more draft.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, how the whole dynamic of these rule changes affect everybody, really, right from Canadians to the U.S. to Europe, because the USHL was a little bit of a hockey hotbed for a lot of these European goalies that couldn't find a spot over in Europe, and they come over and play. And so who knows? But I think the bottom line for me in my job and a job as a goalie coach, you get who you get, and you go from there. So it's not going to change it. Just the rules will change on how much longer a timetable of when we have to make a decision on them.
And like you mentioned, the NCAA was always those late bloomer junior guys that just weren't quite good enough to make the Western League. But here's that extra development. Like you said, 25, they're going to be way better at 20. And now those guys might get a little bit buried by the Western Leaguers or OHLers coming over and taking their
who knows?
But cat and mouse, right? Someone's got to win, someone's got to lose.
Yeah, but now some of these jobs that scholarship guys lose, they can slip into the CHL jobs because it can go both ways now.
Right. Yeah.
You got to look at it that way.
Mind if I start unloading some goalie questions? I got a lot.
Go for it.
I'm dying to ask. Like, you go, like, just from the business side of things, you go from in Edmonton where, you know, you're drafted by Boston, they trade for you, you're playing well, you win a cup behind Grant, and then Grant has the injury issues, and then you take him, you win the mug, and then you go from being the guy who wins the Conn Smythe to traded to Washington, and you're backing up, you know, the greatest South African to ever put on the pads, and Ole the goalie, Olaf Kolzig, Godzilla. Like, how do you, from the business perspective, I guess, put yourself into a mind frame where you're able to succeed in those roles?
What you learn is when you get the opportunity, you got to make the best of it. You know, and that's what I did in Edmonton. I took the advantage of Grant's injury and Grant's suspension, and I basically forced them to decide on an asset, kind of what we were able to do in LA with Jonathn Quick. You know, you create assets, and they got to the point where because of the financial situation, I was much cheaper than Grant Fuhr. And so I became an asset that they were able to use, and they decided that they're going to go the cheaper route and move Grant for younger players and slide me into that role. You know, when you talk about the Washington situation, unfortunate injury, and Ole, you know, took the reins and didn't give it back to me. And so then I became a mentor and tried to do my best. And
if you could, I'm not super familiar with that situation. So you're the starter in Washington, and then you got injured, and he took the reins.
Yep.
So kind of the reverse of Grant, I guess.
Yep, exactly. And so I'd gone through it the other way around, and that just one of those scenarios where, like, we went all the way to the Stanley Cup final. Like, Ole, was first round pick, expected to be the guy, and wasn't able to. Byron Dafoe was in there. They're competing against each other. Then Byron gets moved on to Boston, and then all of a sudden, Ole finally became the goalie that everybody expected him to become. And I tried to be, as an older guy, I tried to help out best I could, but he was he was an interesting, a lot of fun to watch, because he would get so mad. The German side of him we used to talk about, where he would snap, and that was really my job, to kind of keep that temper in check while we were running late through the season and then into the playoffs and stuff. And to this day, we're still great friends. And I was disappointed that I lost the job, but I was just excited for him and what he was able to do. And then he just his career just took off from there, and good for him.
Any times that come to mind where he's freaking out and you're like, Ole, we gotta chill a bit.
Oh God, like there was great story. The year that he kind of took over, but it started in training camp, and it was my first training, because I got traded at the deadline. So it's my first training camp with Washington, and we're it's pre-training camp, and we're out for a scrimmage, and Ole and Joe Ricci used to just butt heads, and they would just go after each other back and forth all the time. And Joe scored on him in this scrimmage, and stick over the crossbar, over to the bench, grab a stick, get back to the crease, stick over the crossbar, over to the bench, get a stick, and last one, skated off the ice, ran out of sticks.
What kind of lumber is he using?
It was wooden
Actual
sticks.
lumber.
So it was lumber.
Like
it was a Heaton. It was a Heaton.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Four of them?
It was 3 or 4. I think it was only 3, because he didn't have another one taped.
Bill, you mind going in? I'm out of twigs.
Yeah. So, I'm down in the other end going, oh boy, this isn't good. This isn't good. This isn't good. Yeah. But that's a good Ole story. But it was incredible, the run he went on, and you lose your job, you hate it. I'm a competitor, but you also got to support a teammate, and I tried to do the best I could. And the thing that I remembered most was George McPhee calling me in at the end of the season and just kind of saying it's, you did a great job with, had to be tough. I know how competitive you are, but you did a good job just trying to help Ole along the way. But the bottom line is Ole's the one that did it. He's the one that you got to give Ole credit. He's the one that did it. He made the saves and took us to the final.
Is it hard to separate that though? Because you got the competitive side.
Yeah, but it's you know what? There's always gonna be that point in your career that I always said I want to be the good teammate, not the bad teammate.
Mm-hmm. I found that was kind of hard to embrace that mindset because, like you mentioned,
I didn't embrace it.
Well,
so I didn't embrace it.
Accept it.
Yeah, and I didn't accept it either. I didn't like it one little bit. But you know what? You got to do what's best for the team. Man. It can change like that. It can change quick.
You find that I don't want to get too foo-foo-y, but the better teammate you are, the more likely you are to get a better bounce. It's like the hockey gods are rewarding you for being a good teammate.
Yeah,
You make your own luck.
Yeah, you make your own luck. Yeah, I really believe that. I just think the things that drove me in my career, one of the big things was respect, and that was not only respect from my own teammates, but respect from opposing players, and that meant a lot to me. And I hope to say that if you talk to most of my teammates, I had good relationship with everybody. I wasn't part of one little pact or anything. I tried to hang out with everybody. It was easy because I was the one that didn't drink, so I could hang with anybody. I didn't drink when I played, so it once or twice a year. But I just tried to hang out with my teammates, and that's the way I approached it.
That's a tough culture back in the 80s and 90s.
Well, funny story, when they closed Hextall down or Northlands, whichever you want to call it, another guy, rest in peace, Peter Klima, he was at the final night there, and I was having a beer, and Peter comes up to me and goes, "I don't know if I've ever seen you drink a beer." And I said to Peter, "I'm surprised that you knew that I didn't drink." And we both had a good chuckle out of that one.
One of my favorite Peter Klima memories was when I think it was Muckler benched him and then brought him out in overtime for the OT winner.
Yeah. It was 3.5 hours between shifts.
Yeah.
He had his chin strap off, and Muck gave him crap in between periods. He goes, "What if I have to play you?" And Peter's like, "You haven't played me in 2.5 periods." And sure enough, I think I don't know if Curry or something came off a penalty kill or something like that, and Muck threw him out, and the old 5-hole goal on Moger, and history from there. But yeah.
Out of curiosity, do those memories, are they more vivid in your mind's eye or from seeing the highlights of it now?
A little combination of both. I mean, the exhaustion of that first game, I vividly remember, him coming down and slinging it and it going 5-hole, and Moger just kind of the old stand-up style collapse. It goes through and you're through the wickets and it's done. I've felt it many a time as a stand-up. A little bit of combination of both, but the biggest thing people ask me about that game, and the chatter in my head that night, it was difficult. The fatigue, you just wanted you got to the point where you just wanted it to end. You didn't care who, but you wanted it to be your side. But I remember that night, it was a tough night with the chatter.
Well, the thing I think I realized as a kid was when I saw Patty LaFontaine score that goal on Pete Peters, and Pete he leans back and he's just like, "Thank God it's over." At that point, I don't think he even cared who won. He just wanted it to be over.
Yeah. No, it's because in the Boston Garden at that time, there was lots of shenanigans that went on. Detroit did it where they paint the visiting dressing room before the round. Boston, they had welded all the windows shut. There's no AC in the Boston Garden, and they've welded all the windows shut, and it's hot out. And that's because of the whole fog issue that you had in that game.
That, yep.
So there was not only the triple overtime or whatever the heck, double overtime, but there was the power outage and multiple times where both teams skated around to clear the fog.
Right.
So it was a long, long night.
Man, how things have changed.
Yeah.
Talk about home ice advantage, though.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. And no in-house food. Like now there's, you go into double overtime, you got in-house food, you can order it down and stuff like that. They had to get pizza delivered.
Wow.
To the room.
Well, it's funny. He brought up home ice advantage. That's one thing that I don't want to say disappoints me about the game, but how uniform it's becoming. Like you go into any barn, and the only way you can tell where they're playing is by the logo in the middle. Where back in the day in Boston Gardens, you were told, don't go into the corners.
Yeah.
Because they cut off real quick.
Well, they tried it in Jersey when we were in the Stanley Cup final with the Kings. We got in there. We're traveling coast to coast, and we get in and they've left all the doors open. We're a big, heavy team, right? And it was stinking hot in that building.
Oh, boy. In June, it's humid out, obviously.
Yeah, and we ended up pulling off that game one, and then obviously the NHL realized what went on in game two. The doors were zipped up. The place was cold again and stuff. But yeah, who was running the show at that time, and Lou controlled the building, and it was stinking hot. It was stinking hot.
You got to kind of respect that, though, because it's like,
hey,
good idea.
Hey.
Every advantage, right?
Yeah, every advantage, exactly. And it was hard on our guys. We were a big, heavy team and found a way to win it, and then got things straightened out for game two.
I heard back in your day, if you were going into an opposing barn, when it came to the personal hygiene products, you were getting basically whatever fuel was available at the local gas station for cologne after the game.
Oh yeah, that's all that's changed now. Everybody's none of that really happens much anymore. But it's hey, that's what was neat about our time with the unique buildings, like cockroaches in the old Chicago Stadium and walking up those stairs. Like I can't tell you how many times I almost slipped going down those stairs. Like they were treacherous.
We were talking about that in the Winter Classic.
Yeah. It's treacherous. Like and that building going in there was nuts.
Anything else like that come to mind? Like the cockroaches in the room, or they open the door so the humidity comes in? Because it reminds me of the Danbury Trashers putting fish in the vents and turning the heat all the way up, or stuff like that.
No hot water in the showers. I mean, the list is endless, right?
Yeah, the main ones were painting in the dressing room before the round.
When you say painting in, what do you mean?
Also, the fumes.
The fumes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. They literally the day before they'd paint the visitor dressing room.
Oh,
here you go, guys. Looks brand new for you.
Yeah, sub would fix it up for you. Oh yeah, yeah. There was just some iconic buildings. Maple Leaf Gardens, Montreal Forum. I remember like my first playoff game with the Bruins was in the Montreal Forum, and the wooden banners. Like you just wouldn't have it now. Like the bench in Toronto, and then you got the fans right behind you.
Right.
With
no glass.
With no glass.
Yeah.
Any crazy fan interactions you had? Whether it be sitting on the bench or in the cage?
A few. Nothing that I really want to talk about, but there's been few over the years. Kevin Lowe was always a classic for the water bottle and stuff, and in Calgary he'd get the fans, but yeah, there was always a few. It was hard not to.
I think one of my favorites was one of your old teammates, McTavish, pulling the tongue off of Harvey the Hound.
Harvey the Hound.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It happened. One here in Winnipeg I think it was after we lost game 4 here in overtime, and Teddy Green with some fan outside our bus. That was fun.
What did the fans say or do?
No, they got into a fight.
The physical altercation.
Yeah.
Well, that was one thing. I mean, and keep in mind, growing up an Alberta boy and now living in Winnipeg for 22 years, for me, it was always fun watching the Oilers beat the Jets. Yeah. But the year Howard-Chuck finally got past you guys in the first round and then had to deal with Calgary the year that they went on the Cup run, right? It was just, I don't know. I feel it now. I understand it now being in Winnipeg. And as a Manitoba boy, I'm sure you have a little bit of that as well.
It was just the old arena was just so iconic, and the whiteout and I got to tell you guys a good story about this building. Was Solani's big year.
Oh yeah.
And I was my whole career I was straight and narrow, never really cheated. I've cheated twice in my career, and I'll tell you the 2 times. The one was against Solani. It was hilarious when I look back on it now, but we were getting our butts kicked, and Solani was going for the record, and they had a power play late, and they just kept setting them up for the one-timer, and I just stayed. I didn't even go to the pass. I just stayed, and I said the record wasn't going to be against me.
Good for you.
I already had one with Gretzky's a little later on, but that night I just, and I don't know if that was the night that Jonathn gave me we were getting our butt kicked, and Jonathn gave me the old one-handed one, and I chased him down the ice. He actually apologized to me after.
I heard Alexei didn't have a lot of apologies in his holster, so it's nice to know that you got one.
No, it was, what goes around comes around, and I just thought we were already getting our butts kicked, and he gave me the old one-handed one, and that's my competitive spirit. But the other one was at the World Championships. When we faced Finland in the shootout, Koivu we were the day before the game against Finland. Finland was on the practice rink beside us, and we got put in the spare dressing room because there was only so many dressing rooms in the main building. So you'd move to the spare ones on the practice rink, and Finland was practicing shootouts, and Koivu was going to his backhand every time. And it's the only time I've ever cheated on a breakaway, like kind of penalty shot.
Look at you pulling a little Bill Belichick.
And
that's like all the Patriots.
He came down on me, and I just kind of baited him, and I just lunged because I couldn't butterfly at that time, my old one-legged butterfly, and stopped him. That's one of the few times I ever kind of somewhat cheated. He could have gone the other way and just put it in the open net, but I just was watching him, and he was going using the same move.
Where were the championships held that year?
That was Italy. Yeah.
Torino?
No, that was the Olympics.
No, we went. I think we were in Bolzano for the early part, and I think the finals were Milan. Went into Milano for the medal round. Yeah.
You have any thoughts of when Gretzky broke the record against you, trying to cheat on him?
Oh, don't know. I don't even want to talk about that. Yeah.
There's Mr. Competitive.
No, I just saw a clip of Gretz talking about how tough it was for him to go back to Edmonton. But that night we were actually leading, and they had the goalie pulled, and they started chanting Gretzky, and that's probably the only time that I was not happy.
The Edmonton fans were cheering for Gretzky to break the record against you.
Yeah, and then he scored the OT winner. Just to really rub salt into the wound that night.
That was
my dad didn't. I don't think my dad went to a game for about a month. After that, he was so disgusted with it.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, though, if you're the fan paying X amount of dollars to watch, you want to see it happen there as opposed to the next thing.
Well, he was also Wayne Gretzky that, they just loved, what he did for that city. But that was a tough one. That was a tough night.
Well, that was the interview he did with Joe Buck, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And listening to Wayne talk about Ovi getting close to his record now.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see him go, no, it should happen.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat. So
yeah.
With all the records and whatnot, as we talked about before, there's different ways to get into the record books, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one record that, assuming Ovi does break it, it'll never be touched again.
Whew, it'd be tough.
With the way the game is trending.
Yeah.
Ovi's been so consistent. That's so hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to do. And I don't know if the money has anything to do with it, maybe a little bit, but I mean, some guys just aren't willing to play that long and beat up their bodies and stuff. That's what amazes me. Kopi's still playing and playing at a high level.
Yeah.
It's hard on your body, and Ovi's just a machine, and to be able to continue to do it, it's impressive.
If I could bring it back to Quickie for a second, you mentioned adding structure to his game, and I think as a young goalie growing up, and I think everybody watching would agree with this, it was just so sexy to watch him play, where he's just violently explosive and still maintain this power when he's fully spread out and just found a way to get into pucks and doing it in a 6'1", 6'2" on a good day package.
6'6" on
Okay.
a good day. Yeah, that's what people don't understand. Quickie's ability, the thing that makes him different from most with that athletic ability is how he is still able to control his upper body and not fall flat on his face. That's the one aspect that he was different than most, that he could still keep his upper body in control and still use his hands. But he's also paid the price for it. The trauma on his groins and stuff and abdomen the fact that he's still playing is amazing.
Well,
He played sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because you said you were a stand-up goaltender, I'm assuming your joints are probably a little happier with you and at this age.
Yeah, well, yeah, to a certain extent, but I couldn't butterfly, and I still can't to this day. So, yeah, I'm not the most flexible guy. So, yeah, good and bad.
Is that one of those things where, like, with how like violent he is in the body, are you kind of like, well, he's naturally gifted and he's doing these things, so I'll just let him be, or like, hey man, like we all pay the piper eventually. Maybe this.
No, that's where as his career moved on, I talked to that. We started making adjustments to his game to try and reduce that trauma to his body.
Anything specific come to mind?
Just depth, a little bit of depth, just reducing depth with him, narrowing him up a little bit. Yeah, and just how he practiced, reducing the number of practices and that sort of thing.
You don't need to be doing, I guess, full splits every day of practice.
No. I tried to design drills to stop him from doing that sort of stuff. Yeah.
It's instinctual too. Like when you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you're talking to the guy that.
Yeah.
All my trauma was from the waist up, back and shoulders. Because I was whatever it took to stop it because I couldn't butterfly, so I wasn't covering anything low. So it just do what you could.
Well, those rollovers were epic, man. Like I said, that was the signature.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just so good. And I mean, I don't know if you'll ever see, like, do you think you'll see another guy like Quickie come along? I mean, Vasilevsky maybe? Yeah,
Vasi's pretty impressive. He's probably and he's just so much bigger. He's a monster. Yeah, I mean, you look at what Hellebuck's doing, but Hellebuck is not athletic. He's just what he does with his body and his reads. Vasi's probably one of the closest to him. I just think Quickie in those athletic moments has a touch more control
than Vasi.
Yeah, than Vasi. But man, he's a specimen.
Both of them, even, or Vasi specifically?
No, Vasi. He's what his flexibility, how big he is. It's pretty impressive.
Well, we've talked a lot about how the goaltending role has gotten nothing but bigger. I mean, you guys played against guys like Mike Vernon, Dominic Hasek.
Yeah.
Those guys, do you feel like anyone 6 feet and under is just being overlooked, period, based on their height?
Oh, 100%. There's many organizations that won't even look at a goalie that's under 6'2". You look at Carter George that we took in the draft last year that I was just super excited about. If he's 1 inch taller, he's a high first-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But because he's undersized, he dropped down.
Where do you draw that line, though? Because I was looking at some like prospect pools the other day. Like the Leafs, they don't have a single guy in the system under 6'4". Yeah. And then you have Stoller 6'6", Hildeby 6'7". Like you have these monsters.
Yeah.
Like where's that line between, okay, you're a little shorter, I think we could do something with you, but then you can teach a 6'5" to get in the right spot and build out around there.
Yeah, but there's a lot of holes on these 6'5" guys.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't been until Vasi, and what's Vasi, 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's a goalie that's over 6'4" ever.
Matt Murray, 6'5".
Is he 6'5"?
6'5". Yeah, he's same height as me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Matt then, but there's for the longest time there wasn't anybody that was over 6'2" that had ever won until those guys then. Yeah.
I mean, even just watching Vasi, and by no means am I comparing, but like I'm a big guy, and I know it's very difficult to even try to move like that, but to have that, like you mentioned, that speed, the control, the velocity, it's incredible.
No, he's special. He's special. One of the top guys of all time. That's going to be by the time he's done.
Really, I enjoy watching Demko. I know you maybe don't want to comment on current goalies too much, but we went to the Canucks game like 2 weeks ago, and he didn't start. It was kind of disappointing because I really wanted to watch his game. But
yeah, he's struggling right now. It's the analogy. It's like a Toyota Camry jumping into a Grand Prix. You know, it's so hard when you come off an injury and you're jumping into the season. It's almost unfair, and that's what he's going through right now. You hear on his interviews and stuff, just not quite getting the reads and stuff like that. He's jumping into a Grand Prix race, after sitting for the last 7 months, and I mean, you look at what he did last year; it was impressive.
Yeah.
And so he just, you hope that, we don't hope, but, for the person himself, you hope he gets back to, because it's got to be really hard on him mentally right now.
And again, there's another California guys we talked about earlier, just, more and more Americans.
Yeah, I remember, I remember when he was in the LA area, because I think he's from San Diego, isn't he?
Yep.
I think, but I think he was with the Junior Kings or somebody at one point, or either San Diego Wave, one of the big traveling teams there. But he, I remember when he was younger, when I first started working in LA, and you heard about him, and yeah, he's the real deal.
Is there a guy that you see today? I don't know if you can answer this, but you're like, he's pretty good. He's really impressive. I enjoy watching this guy as a goalie coach. Is that one we should avoid?
Pick one of your guys.
Yeah, no. Vasi is one guy that impresses me. There's little things that different guys, like a couple of the smaller guys, right? And Saros and seeing Dustin Wolf last night, like just their dynamic skating ability, what they can do on their edges, is impressive to watch. Yeah, right now the state of goaltending right now isn't great in the league. We lost 10 to 15, 65 game starters, and we just haven't found very many yet. So the goaltending's kind of in a flux right now, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of 1As and 1Bs. But yeah, there's good ones coming up. So we'll see what happens over the next few years here. But it's not for me to comment on.
No, for sure.
But there's some good ones coming.
Is there
another Bill Ranford coming?
Who knows?
Your grandchild, right?
Yeah, maybe.
He's only 10 months.
He's 5 months.
He's got about 18 years.
We got some time.
12 years with your projections.
Sure, yeah.
But with Quickie, is there one story that comes to mind of just like, this will always be front of mind? Because I remember he always used to make those like chili dips on Twitter, like when Twitter first came out.
Yeah, I heard you. I was just flipping through, and I heard you comment. The story for me will always, when he Kim Dillabaugh, who's now in Philly, was the goalie coach, was our development guy, and Quickie got called up and slept in, and Dean sent him right back to the minors. So that was just a kind of a wake up call. But the story for me was when I was going back and forth. I was staying by the practice rink, and Terry Murray was the coach at the time, and I would drive to the game with him so that that he could go into the express lane. So he'd pick me up at the hotel. We'd take off. And this was when we first, early on in Quickie's career. And I think we just called him up, and he didn't have a great night. And we're driving back after the game, and he says, what are your thoughts on me coming back with Quickie? How does he kind of bounce back? I said, with his history in the minors and stuff, he bounces back pretty good. Things don't really bother him too much. And as we're pulling into the parking lot, because he's just been called up, he's at the hotel too. And in the middle of the headlights flash on him, and there's him and his girlfriend, ends up being his wife, Jackie, sucking face in the parking lot. And he's like, I guess he's okay. So that's still to me one of the defining moments for me. And sure enough, he comes back the next night and has a great game. But I just laugh. We pull up and Terry's headlights hit the two of them in the parking lot. And my gosh.
Just coincidentally, it happened to be the right car, right?
Yeah, just laughed.
That's awesome. And she's basically his day one. They've been together forever, right?
Yeah. She's awesome. Yeah, she's a great mom and she's a firecracker. She's a firecracker, but just an awesome person and great mother.
Is there anything Quickie loves doing outside of hockey that people wouldn't expect? Outside of making Tostitos dips?
You know what? He's pretty stays close to home. But they big in when he ended up building the house in LA, he did the rec room and got the big TVs for the video games.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about Bill Ranford? What does Bill Ranford do when he's not around the rink?
When I'm not around the rink, you know what? I'm pretty casual. Yeah, I'm now in my new role, now that I'm back home, anytime I can be with the grandkids, I'm all in. But yeah, I like movies, kind of Netflix guy, that sort of thing. Yeah, for me, it's more. I've always been the type. Probably the biggest thing was the way I approached the game, that I was all in during the hockey season. And, probably another one of the things that I wish I would have been different, but even as a coach, my poor kids, my poor wife, I was always all in. So now anytime I can, we spend a lot of time with our kids.
Good.
And that's what we focus on. And they're in their 30s and early 30s, and that's what we enjoy doing. And 3 little grandbabies, can't get enough. Just love it. And yeah, that's what that we kind of do. We bought a place in Hawaii, so we've started going there as much as we can. And that's my wife grew up going there every Christmas. So when I retired, we did the same thing with our kids, and that's kind of our safe haven for everybody as many times as we can get there as a group.
They got a lot of great golf courses there.
Yeah, and I don't golf.
I know.
I have not swung a golf club on the island of Maui.
What? Wow.
So it's for me. We paddleboard, tennis, a little bit of pickleball, just stuff together as a group. But yeah, I can honestly say I've not once. Yeah.
Your kids based out of New West as well?
Yeah. Both girls are. We sold our house in Queen's Park by the old stomping grounds, and my wife was born and raised there, so her family's there. So my funny story, my wife's sister bought my Billett's house, so that's pretty crazy.
Wow.
About 5 doors down from Queen's Park Arena. And then, we sold our house 7, 8 years ago. We're in a condo. At one point, we had us on the top floor, my oldest 3 floors down, and my youngest on the 10th floor. And then they both went into other condos, and now they're both in homes about a mile away. And then both girls are about 6 blocks from each other. So it's awesome.
Good for you.
5-minute drive or 20-minute walk. And so we're now at the point where anytime my wife's she's a therapist now after teaching for a bunch of years, and we just try and spend as much time with the girls as we can.
Speaking of great experiences, this has been an absolute treat.
Oh, this was amazing. I'm glad we were able to do this. I follow you guys, so it's I love hearing the goalie talk and a little bit of other stuff, the finance and the music and a little bit of everything. So it's this was a real honor to be part of this.
Well, if there's anything you hear that you don't like, you got a direct access to Travis now, so feel free to call him out whenever he says something wrong.
Yeah, because I never
voicemail line too.
Yeah, I'll never figure out this DM thing. So now that I can text you, but this was amazing, a real great experience, and this is a special city. This city of Winnipeg, it always has been for me. So I always love coming back here. The people are amazing, and you guys are doing a great job promoting a great game.
Amen. Well, thank you very much. And from the city, Vegas to the north, thank you everybody for watching today's show with 4-time Stanley Cup champion prior to Brandon, Manitoba. I also went to school with my dad, believe it or not, once upon a time. My dad tells me stories about that all the time.
Whereabouts?
Just outside Souris, I think. Souris, somewhere in between Brandon and Souris. Because you and my dad are the same age, and he would tell me stories all the time. I went to school with Billy Ranford.
Well, it would have had to be in Portage la Prairie because that's the only time I've lived in Manitoba besides being born in Brandon.
He also dropped out in like grade 8 or grade 9 too, so that you might have missed him by a few years.
Well, I'm trying to think. I was grade. What would have been here in like grade 9, grade 8, grade 9 in.
What's your dad's name?
Frank
Ridgen?
Frank the Tank.
Yeah. Frank the Tank. Yeah.
He actually gave himself that nickname. I remember when I was like 10 or 11, he's like, he saw the movie Old School, Will Ferrell, and he's like, everybody's gonna start calling me Frank the Tank. Yeah. It's like, Dad, usually like you don't give yourself a nickname. Like you gotta have other people give it to you, and that's. But anyway.
Couldn't go a show without a movie quote, Bill. I'm glad you're a fan of movies for that one.
Yeah, no, the old Portage Terriers. It was
still a great program.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I think 13, 14 in there. I was with on the base there in Portage, and yeah, it was lots of fun. Good hockey there, good competitive market,
still is.
And travel everywhere, and then I did the same thing with the baseball there too. So it was lots of fun.
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, and I'm sure my dad will see this and he'll text me like, "It was grade 7 or whatever right before I dropped off," or something like that. But
yeah, exactly.
Do you have a book or anything coming out to promote, or just you're coming on for some fun?
No, this was just for fun. No, I guess help my buddy here. Where I'm involved with the Mr. Mike's Steakhouse. So there's one here that
sure is just off Route 90.
Yeah, that my buddy Warren Goss is involved with. So, but we have a bunch in Alberta and BC and stuff. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Amazing. Well, best of luck, man. Continued success and go Kings.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. We do a new episode every single Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 in the Prairies, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, 9 in Calgary, and 8 a.m. in the Pacific Northwest. That's Bill Ranford. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Sunday.